Hello, everyone. Here is a new edition of Last Week in Denmark podcast. Today, me, Narcis George Matake, I will be your host, your anchor, together with Kalpita. Hello,
Hello.
Kalpita. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I have a little chocolate muffin to go for the weekend, so I'm in good spirits.
That's great, especially considering that today we are covering uniquely four subjects in half an hour. You don't get scared. Doesn't mean that you have to spend more time with us, like the previous episode where I was part of it when we went almost 1 hour. Well, what can you do? If it's an interesting subject, it is an interesting subject. But with Kalpita here, I'm sure we will be able to respect the time that we have on hand. So, what we're going to talk about today, very simple. First, about EU driving rules around Europe. Then we're going to go into language laws. It's just a proposal from one political party, so it's interesting just to look at it, not necessarily that it's very serious or something that we should be concerned about. Then we can talk about Denmark's budget surplus. We in Denmark are doing better than ever. And then the last thing we're going to discuss about how a small bronze stamp found on a small island in south of Denmark might rewrite Danish history. So, Kalpita, what should we start first? What's your favorite subject from the four of them?
I mean, I don't drive, so maybe EU driving laws could be interesting to
EU.
start with.
Would you be surprised if I tell you that EU does not have common EU driving rules?
No, I won't be surprised because I've heard of that before. But I'm also aware that you can use like a Danish driving license to drive in the EU.
Yes, that is correct. But it's more like it's funny that we don't have common rules. Like we all can see small or maybe larger differences between different EU countries in terms of how you drive, which rules you need to follow, and that can be confusing, especially that more and more of us are maybe taking a driving license in one country, and then maybe during our lifetime we get to use it in almost many other countries.
Yeah.
So the question here is why why it took so long to think about common EU rules on driving. It's not like, oh my God, we're losing our sovereignty if if we do that, right? Our roads, our rules, you know.
Yeah. I mean, luckily UK is not part of the EU, so that would have been a complete nightmare because EU we have right side road rules, while in the UK everything's left side. Plus, we drive right hand on the right side, and in the UK, people drive on the left side. Oh, I'm confusing one of the two, but basically both are opposites. We follow opposite street rules. We follow opposite driving manufacturing thingies as well. So luckily, we are not doing that. So it should be a bit easier to transition to holistic same EU rules. I think it's also interesting uh, to see how that extends to other laws as well, not just limited to licensing but also traffic rules.
Mhm.
I understand that there are many things in the works for controlling that as well and bringing traffic accidents down.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit sad to know that in 2021, 20,000 people lost their lives on the European roads. So we clearly need to do something about it, and I'm really happy that we're going in the direction of a unitary set of rules. And it's really interesting to see that in Denmark we already got the digitalization right ahead. We already have the driving license as an app.
Yeah.
Well, now EU has mandated all the other EU countries to do the same, so that the app driving license is valid everywhere. Because you should know a Danish driving license as an app is only valid in Denmark. The moment you go abroad, you need to have your physical one.
Yeah.
So don't get fooled by that small change. And then there you have the fact that in the first 2 years there should be zero tolerance to driving while having any sort of alcohol or any other euphoric substances in your blood. In Denmark, we have zero point 0.5, so you can have still, depending on your, body mass, 1 or 2 beers or whatever,
Yeah.
before you drive. But with the new rules, it means that it will be zero tolerance. But you should know it's only for like the first 2 years of having a driving license. So it will mainly affect the young people, which it seems are hugely responsible for most of the deaths that are happening on the roads in Europe.
I mean, I think that's a very fair law to consider and bring into action as well, because most road accidents and traffic accidents are happening because of the use of substances and alcohol, especially around the times when partying and summer.
Mm.
Christmas as well is like the season for traffic accidents as well. That also puts pressure on the healthcare system at the same time, but it also affects border control as well, especially German and Danish borders. I mean, most people also take weekends to go shop for alcohol and pack their cars with all kinds of drinks to bring into Denmark because it's cheaper. So all of these things we need to consider, and I think it's a great law as well. I mean, if a 17-year-old, 18-year-old is allowed to drive a heavy vehicle, then I think these laws are just fair and should be in place already. If they're not,
Well,
then
it's,
it's
it's
just about time.
it's funny that you mentioned the trucks, because as we know, you need to be 21 to drive a truck in Europe and in Denmark as well. Well, Denmark is Europe. But the point is that the idea is that they wanted to go from 21 to 18, so because we don't have enough truck drivers. To be honest, that one raises a bit questions, the initiative, because it is very hard to drive a truck. You have a lot of blind spots,
Yeah.
much more difficult than driving a normal car. Um, Letting such young people to drive trucks, I don't find it smart. In my opinion, I find it very, very dangerous. But at the same time, I understand the idea behind. We need more truck drivers now. Um, the Where should we get these truck drivers from, right? So one way would be to let younger people to enter the workforce faster.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's a dilemma.
I mean, w- Denmark needs laborers, whether it's a truck driver or a construction laborer or I don't know what other labor work they don't spring to mind, but we do need more laborers, and we need people who are going to take the jobs that an average Dane doesn't take. And let's face it, that is the reality. So it's not that we're only missing people, we're also missing um workforce across the labor market, and truck drivers are just one of them. So I think Denmark can do a better job. They have really smart, overpaid people sitting in the system who could think of much more innovative things than having 16, 18-year-olds driving trucks on the streets. But at the same time, not very long ago, they also had this retail thing that we also discussed, where they were getting a bit more extra money for putting in hours, and also the young ones were going to get more responsibility to feel that they were doing something more worthy of the money that they were getting paid. So it's across industries. It's just slowly, slowly we get to hear about retail, and now we're getting to hear about being truck drivers and stuff.
I mean, we need the workforce because we are growing a lot, and now we can slowly move into the second subject as well. Denmark is doing very well. We have the lowest unemployment in history, the highest employment in history. Uh, we Very few people are still unemployed out there, like less than 80,000 people. Uh, it's incredible how well we're doing, and that is reflected in the budget for last year. For example, we had a surplus of, what was it, 133 billions.
Yeah,
We're doing really, really well. Like, we haven't had such a good year since before the 2008, when the whole world economy failed, right?
yeah,
In 2008. So in 2007, you have to go that far to find a year that went as good as now. So that means, why does Denmark have so much money, right? It's because more people are employed, means more people pay taxes. If more companies hire more people, that means they make more profit. That means they pay more corporate tax. so everyone pays more.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the more people are involved in this whole doing any sort of economic activity on the territory of Denmark, it's creating money for the state. So the state is in a really good spot right now. We have 133 billion extra that we were not accounted for. What should we do with it?
I mean, we the whole year so far we've been talking about defense budgets and increasing defense budgets. So I can clearly see that this is probably going to go in strengthening our defense capacities. And there are requirements not just for the NATO contribution, but also for the EU budget for defense. So I'm very sure that this is going to be used and saved up. I think most of this money is also hopefully being put away for all the crisis preparedness that we are supposed to be aiming for and preparing for. So I would assume that is also something that's going to be part of this surplus budget. But having said that, there is a growing concern um, for me, and maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate because for how long is this going to last, right? Because this is almost 20 years ago when we had a better year, and after 20 years we're having one now, and maybe this lasts until companies like Novo and Maersk are doing well, and this is also an indication of an excellent recovery after COVID. Having said that, for how long is that going to last, considering now that as much as I hate to bring it up, but Trump is inducing recession in the US, and that's of course going to cascade into the rest of the world. But at the same time, we have the Russian issue, then we have an ongoing trade war, we also have the Greenland issue that's also going to affect the economy at some point. All of that considered, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we are going to have more pensioners. We are going to have an older generation that's going to not be paying these heavy taxes and corporate taxes either. So I would hope that there are all those smart economists coming up with some kind of solution. Also, now I'm just on a rant, and I'm really coming from a personal perspective where people of my generation or the younger generation are really not able to invest in a home or have a secure future where they can invest in a home and have basic amenities like a decent household. People are not having kids because things are going really well, but how's that going to support the economy? I mean, it concerns me that we have great surplus now, but 5, 10 years after, I want to know what the government would do for that.
I mean, you cannot hope that every year you have surplus. Just the idea that the government has a surplus
Hmm.
is unique in Europe. Very few countries in Europe can say that, if any, this last year. We are in a very unique position. We are outperforming Germany, for God's sake. That's how well we are doing right now. But unfortunately, most states in it's more usual than not that countries have to borrow money to keep up the budget instead of having a surplus. It's very unusual that a country has a surplus. It's usually that you borrow more money so that you can keep up with the deficit.
Hmm.
Actually EU has put now Germany has actually voted that they will not follow the 1% deficit. They will allow it to go further higher deficits, which means that they will allow themselves to not have a surplus but to have a debt
Hmm.
out there because it's necessary. Germany is not performing. There is no money, so they need to invest more money to make the economy run.
Yeah.
So sometimes most it's very unique what Denmark has right now. So what scares me actually, I understand what you're saying that money are needed in many directions. Of course, they need to put some money aside for the fact that there is this whole pension crisis coming up. They need to put some money aside to see how we're doing with constructing more affordable housing. Also, there should also be more campaigns to encourage people to get out of the cities, to be honest.
Yeah.
There is affordable housing in Denmark if you're willing to get out of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
uh, People who are unemployed can afford a house outside of Copenhagen.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You can
Okay.
be on unemployment benefits, both of you, and still get a house in a village somewhere in Denmark.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
Wow.
That's how. So it's so it is a crisis, but that crisis is overly exaggerated in Copenhagen, in the capital. because yes, it you get like a what for a million you maybe get 7 meter on 7 meter,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
if
true.
you're lucky.
But then it is a result of the past, I would say, about 5 to 6 years, right? Because first we went into decentralization, and then we again
Hmm?
came to centralization. So now everything and everybody is concentrated on Copenhagen. And in Copenhagen, there are still people, but there are very few people who actually travel into Copenhagen for work. Even if there are jobs in smaller towns and villages, people are not willing to go that far, because they already have a setup in Copenhagen. So why leave that? Because of course prices, I mean, house values are appreciating, so no one's going to leave a big pot of gold and just go into the village because they can.
Yeah, but then to afford that big pot of gold, it's usually starting point what, 4, 5, 6 million, 8 million.
Easy average 5
uh
million anywhere. Yes.
so 5 million, I'm buying for 5 million, I think, a mansion here with 40 hectares of land, my own lake, my own forest,
Absolutely.
a small
In
island.
3 million, you can buy land and build your own place and still save out of the 5 million. I totally agree. But that's the thing. I mean, that was also what we spoke about last week regarding the farmers. They're
Mm.
also, facing the pinch of people not being in the villages, and they are also not getting the attention that they want from the government. So, I would hope that that there is a solution to it, because of course people want to go into villages. I mean, the slow life is truly in villages and small towns, especially in Denmark.
And to be honest, it's the best. If you planning to raise a family, do not raise it in the city. Go to suburbs, find yourself a small village. You'll see that the quality of the daycare, the quality of the kindergarten, the quality of the local school, the safety, the security, all of it is top, 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 way above and 10 times better than what you'll find in the city. I know that because I am in this situation. I chose to live outside of the city, and it was the best decision ever, especially compared to my friends who chose to live in the city.
Hmm.
And I can see the struggles they have with their children, with the system and so on, because it is more pressure, the system in the city. It is facing other difficulties, while we're taking it slow here. And not just us, but also the system is it's much better prepared. So as an international, I cannot, yeah, recommend better than to not crowd yourself with the others in the most possible crowded place in Denmark. But enough about money. I just hope one last thing. I just hope that people will not start thinking about reducing taxes in Denmark. We do not have such high taxes compared to the rest of Europe. It's just it is like this weird rumor that we pay the highest taxes in Europe. We don't. We just pay what most of the other EU countries have in place as well. France, Germany. We do not pay such high taxes.
Yeah.
So any idea of reducing taxes, it's dangerous, because not only that now, yes, we had a surplus, as I said, but as you said yourself, there are big crises coming in the future. The moment the government reduces taxes, it's very hard to come back and raise them.
Yeah.
People will get very angry, even if you decide to raise 0.01%.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't want us to fall for any, because some political parties 100% will come out there and say, hey, let's reduce the taxes if possible,
But isn't
now
that
that we
like
have
an
this
every
extra
year
money.
agenda almost?
Yeah, it is.
But we are
I saw it
thinking
in
of,
Copenhagen happening.
yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but we are also thinking about war taxes. So I was thinking that we probably get 1 more % added to our taxes instead of reduced taxes.
I mean, if necessary, we might have to,
Yeah.
and that's how it is. I mean, I would prefer us getting an extra percent to our taxes than them cutting down benefits for unemployed people, benefits for people who are on this I don't know, no social system, people who are handicapped, because that's the other alternative. That's what Liberal Alliance proposed, right?
Yeah.
Let's cut all benefits to all the weakest ones that we have in society. Great, fantastic. And instead of adding 1% to the ones who can afford it, because let's be honest, if you have an average salary in Denmark, you do fine. You can get a house, you can put money aside, you do fine. You do
Absolutely.
really, really fine.
Yeah, I agree.
You uh, So we have capacity. Our financial capacity as people in Denmark living here. As, of course, I do not know how it is if you live in Copenhagen. You know better that.
No, I think
Uh,
it's not extra comfortable, but it's comfortable. Like an average salary, you can pay a home, you can get fresh groceries and premium groceries as well. You can go out for 1 or 2 meals in the month and live a
you can
comfortable
still
life.
put money aside. You can
Yeah,
still put
absolutely,
money aside.
absolutely.
That's I think that's because sometimes I meet people from Germany and they're like surprised that we can do all of these things, have loans, and still be able to make investments from the same salary.
Yeah,
For them, it's shocking because they get to spend half of their salary on rent.
yeah, and then come out in a surplus. So yay.
Yeah. So it's not just Denmark that's doing well. We all, as average families of Denmark,
Yeah.
we doing okay. I'm not gonna say we're rich, but we are not poor either. We are fine. I think we are in a good spot. So enough about money, because I guess people can get bored listening too much about money. Let's talk about language, because I know you added this subject to the list. You wanted to talk about language laws. We know that the conservatives propose that we should have language laws in Denmark, so that they create some sort of a council who should invent Danish alternatives to English words that enter the Danish language.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit tricky, to be honest. Where I come from, we are having this huge language politics in recent times. In the past three years, we've started having some serious language politics. Where I come from in India, we were divided as a country based on our languages, and in the north we have a Hindi belt where most people speak Hindi, and that's why it is our national language. But if you ask the people in the south, they don't agree with using Hindi as their national language because that is not their language. Each state in the south has their own language, and of course they're very proud of it. And they don't have Hindi in their school curriculum either. While in the north, the Hindi belt, people don't want to speak English because their language is Hindi, and the south
Wow.
prefers English. So it is very tricky to make laws where a certain language should be compulsory, or or certain language should have friendly substitutes so kids and people can pick it up. I mean, take in our integration situation, right? As soon as you come into the country as a new foreigner, you will,
International.
as an international, sorry, as a new international in Denmark, you are always offered to learn the language. And most of us, almost 80-90% of us, choose to learn the language because it's easier to understand our environment, to be friends with the locals, to understand signboards, place an order in a cafe or something like just
Mhm.
basic things. Um, so I think this thing is sort of making it's a weak choice. I think it's something that is telling people that, oh, okay, if you can't do it, then here's another alternative, but then I think you should just be pushed in it and just do it. And if that means that you take 3 years to learn the language, that's fine, you learn the language.
But I think that the language laws here are more about the fact that they're afraid that Danish is becoming Denglish with time. Uh, Language is evolving. Language has always evolved. And I think trying to regulate or legislate how we should speak or how young people should speak, it's absurd. You can come up with words and alternatives. You can try your best to use them in education and try to push them through the educational system, but you're not going to beat up TikTok or Instagram. And the language there is English, even for the Danish young kids. So it is, yes, now there are more and more words coming into Danish language from English. I think that's the case all over the world in all the languages. That's just the situation. We're becoming a more globalized world. We have to accept the fact that now English is slowly becoming like a language of the world, you could say, where every almost citizen of the world kind of is expected to speak maybe their native language plus English as a package deal, right? So it makes sense that with time, all the other languages will pick up English words, or because we keep inventing things, new things appear, new situations that there were not before. So of course we have to come up with words for all those things. And usually those words come from science. Science is in English. Science will give us further language, or comes from tech, or comes from IT. Also, it's in English. It comes further to us, and we adopt it in that language. So it will be crazy. I mean, France tries very hard to keep up with the English words being created. And but to be honest, talks if you ask any French people, they will find it hilarious. A lot of those words are hilarious.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I mean, think about it. That the conservatives had proposed was to change the word bacon in England's flesk. What? What?
I mean, to be fair, I think this uproar is also for specific words that are coming from Persian and Arabic. This wasn't happening when there were words from English that were being included in the Danish dictionary. I have not heard someone opposing to new words until this year. And mind you, I've been here about 7 8 years, and I'm I've never heard of anyone having a taking issue to it. So I think it's becoming concerning for them because now Persian, Arabic words are also becoming part of the language. And I think it's fine. I find Persian extremely beautiful. I also find Urdu very beautiful because they are very close to the languages we have back in India. And but also, to be fair, Danish language is also expanded to the UK, including Scotland. Some of their words are very, very Danish inspired, or actually completely Danish, like church in Scottish and Danish is the same. Baby is the same as well. So it's not that it's only languages coming into the Danish language, but Danish language is also going outside of Denmark. Also, American words are also picking up, like hygge became the word of the year or something like that a couple of years ago. So I don't see why Denmark should complain at all about such a thing. But at the same time, I
I've,
think it's also a bit against Danish core values as well. You know, we are very open to new things. We're very open to cultural impact as well. So I think this is a bit petty uh, from my
I mean,
perspective.
it's just a proposal from a small party that has 5% in the opinion polls. None of the other parties have reacted positively yet to the suggestion, and unless we see a blue government, if they find ever a candidate for prime minister, which they struggle to, we're not going to see any such ideas being put in practice,
Thank
because
God.
it is about hiring more administrators, hiring more people to do administrative work. And now the government idea is cut, cut, cut. We do not want to hire more highly educated people. Stop with that. We need more money for nurses and
Oh yeah.
people on the like educators and whatnot. Not people with 3 master degrees and 2 PhDs studying and thinking how to make bacon England's flesk. Uh,
Yeah, I mean it makes complete sense because all the internationals that come into Denmark are leaving Denmark, and we're okay with them leaving. They are highly educated people, you know. But I also think that Denmark can do a good job of using the workforce that they already have in terms of
mm.
accompanying spouses and other internationals. But
More can be done there, of course, and it's
absolutely,
like a subject we can cover another time. And talking about languages, let's look at history. History is part of identity, just like languages. And we something happened some time ago. A man with a metal detector. By the way, that's the crazy thing. So many people in Denmark spend time in their weekends and or after work and whatnot, going with metal detectors around
yeah.
simply and finding all sorts of weird things. Like a lot of people found really cool stuff from met gold to gold coins to God knows what. But the latest find is quite interesting because it's a bronze stamp from the year 600 that actually the motifs on it seem to be similar to the ones found in the British Tutankhamun, the Sutton headgear. Um, it- why is this important? Is because initially, not initially, at the moment, they think that gear is made by the Swedes, and it puts Sweden as a much earlier developed state than Denmark. But now it seems that maybe it's not actually Sweden that made that; it's Denmark. This will be incredibly interesting because you know how much Danes and Swedes love each other. It's the love of the year
I cannot
in there.
I cannot wait to be a fly on the wall when the Swedish and the Danes are actually discussing this, that who is more advanced than whom. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And then why is this also important for Danish history? Is because we think that Harald Bluetooth in the year 900 actually put the first bricks towards creating the Danish state. But in fact, now that if this proves to, they still need to get confirmation, of course, to it. That means 300 years earlier than that, Denmark existed as a power in the North States. So that really kind of makes us rethink the Danish history in general.
yeah, the news article
Um,
says since the 6th century. That's a long, long time ago.
yeah, I mean, you have to be somehow into history to care about things like this. But if you're going to be taking any sort of tests in the following year about citizenship and I don't know, permanent residence, if you're non-European, then most likely you might get a question about this man and his metal detector who found a little bronze stamp that kind of changed a little bit Danish history and put us a bit ahead of Sweden. And Danes love nothing more than to be ahead of Sweden.
But I think it's incredible that, we can still find pieces of history and archaeology that can date back to centuries and centuries away and still make new discoveries. I think it's extremely fascinating that we can still do that. I also think that it could be a result of all the flooding and all the erosions that we are experiencing in recent times across Europe and especially Denmark in the past 2 years. Especially, we've had some serious floods as well. So I think this nature consequences is very fascinating.
Yeah, it gets us to know better our history. Of course, history and in general is it's based on what we know so far. So every time we learn something new, history changes. So it's you always have to remember that history is based on known facts and what we know until the this moment. So that's why don't be surprised if even history books change. If you look at the history books 50 years ago and a history book now about the same historical event, maybe in the last 50 years, with all the new technologies, with all the maybe more people involved in archaeology and more people involved in historical analysis, maybe we learn new things about the same event, new angles, new things, and then you'll see it differently presented with different impact over history.
Yeah, just not
His
new words in the language. Just that we can't have.
I mean, you can have new words in language, but it cannot be inshallah
Yeah,
because that will freak out the conservatives.
exactly.
But I think we covered the four topics for today. We went quite fast through it, but I hope you all have enjoyed our little exchange about the four main topics that we think are important in the week that has passed. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Kalpita, for being a great co-host.
You're very welcome. I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.